you to either close your eyes or fix your gaze lower. That helps with calming your mind. Well, let's take a few deep breaths together. Inhale and exhale. Let the body soften and allow your mind to settle into this moment. Bring your attention to the space beneath you. Feel the support of the earth, the floor, and the chair holding you. Let yourself arrive here, now. Any sounds in the background, just allow them to fade into the background. Allow your breath to become your anchor, steady, soft, flowing. So the slide I had was a picture of the yin-yang symbol, which is just a circle with an S in the middle. I want you to imagine that symbol before you. Now one side is light and the other side is dark. Notice its wholeness, the dark and the light, and the curved line that flows between them. In each side is a little circle of the opposite color. This is the path. It's the line you will walk. Imagine yourself stepping onto that line and becoming part of its flow. Take a step, take another step, and find your balance. One side holds stillness, quiet, coolness. That's the yin side. The other side holds energy, motion, and warmth. That's the yang side. And you are the awareness walking between them. You are the awareness walking between them. Begin to move along the curve in your mind's eye. Each step is another choice point, not between right and wrong, but between the extremes. You can feel the cool shadow of yin on one side, and you can feel the warm radiance of yang on the other side. And you walk, and as you walk, allow yourself to feel centered and aware, not pulled by one side, not rejecting the other. Breathing in balance, breathing out presence. As you walk, allow yourself to feel both sides within you, both the stillness and the striving, the receiving and the creating, the softness and the strength. You are the one who holds them both. You are the center. You are the bridge. This is the middle way. Not escape, but embrace. Not control, but clarity. For a few moments, in the silence, Find a comfortable space to rest. In the silence. In the silence. Now let's bring our attention back to the breath. Feel your body. Feel the steadiness beneath you. Inhale and exhale. Bring your awareness back to this place and this time. Carry this awareness with you, that you can choose harmony over extremes, and that balance is not outside of you, it is within you. And when you're ready, open your eyes. So I created that meditation, and I like it. I really like it. You like it too? Thank you. The title of my talk today is Between the Extremes, the Middle Way. And the middle way refers to an approach that emphasizes balance and moderation and avoiding extremes. And now we can have extremes in a lot of ways. We can have extremes in thoughts, in feelings, in attitudes, and in actions. And I'll talk more about each of those ways and what to do with those extremes when I get to that part. But part of what I'm going to be talking about, focusing on, is finding the middle way mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And also looking for the bigger picture, realizing that there are gifts in the opposite sides of what you want. If something's happening and you don't like it, there's actually a gift in it for you. And those circles in the opposite colored circles, to me, those are the gifts in the opposite side. Because all opposites are related, and I'll tell you more about that also. So my interest in this topic started, maybe 6 weeks ago in our writers group. We have a writers group that's meeting actually Tuesday. I don't know if it's on the slides, but it's meeting Tuesday. And Neil will talk more about that. But I talked about the line between yin and yang and the type of perspective you'd have if you had that vantage point where you could see both sides of each situation. So that's kind of where the talk came out of, and that's where the meditation came out of. So I'll be talking about walking that line today. Walking the line between is an act of balance, presence, courage, and humility. It requires wisdom and clarity to neither cling nor push away. To neither cling nor push away. It's a place of calm, a place of peace, a space in the heart that does not rise or fall with circumstances. By standing in the middle, you begin to see the relationship between the opposites. Like a tightrope walker, you can't walk the middle by force. You walk it by feeling. This means listening to the body, the heart, and the moment. To walk this line, we learn to hold paradox, to let life be as it is, and still we choose with care. Still we choose with care. And so I'm also going to be talking about our choices and how they can align with our core values, what's really most important to us. So as we live in the present moment, this means responding, adjusting, sensing what's called for right now, and adapting with awareness. Let's talk a little bit about the yin-yang symbol. Now, I'm not an expert, but I did have this book published in 1991 on my bookshelf, The Tao of Inner Peace, because when I was younger, and actually most of my life, I've been on a quest for inner peace. So this is one of my books, and I was called to look through it. And there you have the yin-yang symbol, but actually this dot should be black, and this one is white in the symbol, that the slide that I had for us to look at. The entire circle represents wholeness. Yin is the dark side, represents feminine, nurturing, feelings, and intuition. And yang is the light side, represents masculine energy, achieving, thinking, and action. Those are some of the qualities. She lists a lot of qualities of both sides in this book. If you want to take a look at it, I'll leave it on the greeter table if you want to look at it later during fellowship or whatever. I might leave it on the back table, actually. That's where we do our fellowship. The dots, each side contains the seed of the other side. I'm going to challenge us to find the gift in that space, the gift of the opposite. Now the curved line, it's flowing, and it represents dynamic balance. And that's one of the principles in Taoism, dynamic balance. But before I get to that, I just want to say the yin-yang symbol teaches that opposites are interdependent. And balance and harmony come from accepting and integrating both sides of any experience. So from this book, Lao Tzu taught the principle of dynamic balance. When we can balance the opposites within and around us, we can find peace. Think about that. That's a big thought, isn't it? And Taoists recognize that one extreme will invariably lead to the other. What goes up must come down. So let's say we're pushing ourselves to get something done, pushing, and then we have this great fatigue afterwards, and we can't do anything. Know anybody like that? I do. I'll talk more about that. Okay, so I want to read this from Tao 46. Great trouble comes from not knowing what is enough. Great conflict arises from wanting too much. When we know when enough is enough, there will always be enough. Let me say that last line again. When we know when enough is enough, there will always be enough. Let's just breathe that one in. The other principle is the principle of oneness. The other main principle of Taoism is oneness. Because we are all part of a larger whole, if we take short-sighted action, that will produce imbalance on a grand scale. Have you ever thought of that? Have you ever thought of that? Short-sighted action on our part can create imbalance on a grand scale. Who remembers the movie Bruce Almighty? Anybody see Bruce Almighty? Okay. So Bruce is playing God and trying to answer everybody's prayers, and he gets overwhelmed. And he just starts saying yes to everyone and yes to everything. What happens? Chaos, calamity, earthquakes, floods, the society, pain, suffering, societal breakdown. That's what happens when he says yes to everything. That's what I think of when I think of one-sidedness. One-sidedness is kind of like when the washing machine is out of balance and it wobbles, boom, 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 like that. There's too much weight on one side, then you have to open the lid and fix it and try it again to make sure everything's balanced. When we choose one side, let's say we're always going to be strong, right? We're never going to be vulnerable. We cut ourselves off from a part of life and a part of ourselves. While strength might protect us, it may also prevent healing, connection, and growth. So let me read from Tao 2. This is the second reading and the last one from the Tao. Having and not having produce one another. Difficult and easy balance each other. Long and short complete one another. High and low rely on each other. Pitch and tone make harmony together. Beginning and ending follow each other. So that's when we're looking at a bigger picture, right? We can see the wholeness when we look for it. Your mental and physical health, your emotional health, and your spiritual health all depend upon holding this balance. It also affects your relationships, your work, your leisure time, your emotions, your ability to tune into your intuition, your self-esteem, your confidence, and your humility. All of that is part of this balance. So I think it's important to talk about it. So I'm going to go into how do we do this? How do we find this balance? And the first point will be avoiding extremes. And so I'm going to invite you, when you're taking action, to consider what too much and what just enough looks like and feels like for you. What too much and what just enough actually looks and feels like for you. Usually you can tell you're in an extreme of behavior because you're feeling very overwhelmed, you're feeling pressured, you're feeling confused, or you might have feelings of great sadness, depression, or angst, a lot of angst. That's when you can tell there are extremes going on, either within you, around you, or both. So extremes come in many forms, and I'm going to start with our thinking, extremes in our thinking. Now, I had a lot of practice with this, working as a therapist for many years, helping people challenge the extremes of their thinking. But the thing that helped me with that is whenever I tried to help someone else, I had to do it too, because otherwise I would be a hypocrite, right? If I didn't practice what I preached. So the whole time I'm helping others, I'm also helping myself, which was a beautiful experience. And I saw my clients as my teachers as well, and it was lovely. Now that I'm retired, doing something like this is purposeful for me because I'm still teaching. But when I teach, I want to teach with humility because I don't know. I don't know so much. And other people know more than I do about so many things. And I think teaching with humility is a form of the middle way because you're sharing your knowledge, but you are able to say, I don't know, when you don't know. So back to extremes in thinking. I just kind of moved around a little bit there with my personal experience. It's something called black and white thinking. Anybody know black and white thinking? Okay, it's like every time I try to do something, it messes up. I just can't do anything right. It could also be always never, either or, everyone, no one, everything, nothing. Those words in your mind can create extremes of feeling in your heart. Notice there's no gray areas, no middle ground with either or. And you can even put these together and compound the mess. You can say, everything always goes wrong. Nothing ever goes right. So now we've got everything and always together. So there's a couple of ways to deal with this. We can tell a more realistic story instead. Because we're always telling stories. We're telling stories to ourselves and to others about what we think and what we believe and how our viewpoints and our perspectives. We're always telling those stories. And sometimes if we listen to what we're saying to ourselves, it can be very insightful. So I've had an opportunity to practice over the past few weeks. About 5 weeks ago, I was happily doing yard work on a fine spring day. And the next day, I found myself unable to bend without pain. So I've always been a do-it-yourself kind of person, and I couldn't do that. I did not want to ask for help. I wanted to push through the pain. One of my lessons there was slowing down, being really conscious of my movements. Because what happened is I tripped an old injury in my hip from, in the mid-90s. So not just slowing down, but moving with intention and accepting my limits. Okay, so that required humility. And this showed up as asking for help without judging myself as helpless. Asking for help without judging myself as helpless. So telling a more realistic story for me was, I can be both flexible and strong. Well, I'm jumping ahead. A more realistic story was I went to physical therapy, and the therapist said, "You are so flexible. You just need to build your core strength." Because strength without flexibility, you can get into all kinds of trouble. I mean, flexibility without strength. Either one, yeah, you can get into all kinds of trouble. Yeah, flexibility without strength, you'd end up in weird positions, and strength without flexibility, you'd be very rigid. You know? So, so we can also use both and thinking instead of either or. That's where I was going. I can be both flexible and strong. That's the thought. That's the thought. I'm not helpless because I have to ask for help. I can be both flexible and strong. I am independent and I need support at times. I can love someone and set boundaries with them. Or I can love someone and set boundaries for myself. So, example, today I called Neil. He was already here. It was early. And I said, I hope you're there early because you're coming back to pick me up. I have a little sports car, and I have not been driving it because getting in and out can tweak pull out my SI joint or whatever. So I've been avoiding driving. And he says, well, no, I hadn't actually planned that. I says, okay, well, I can just do this online. That was me setting a boundary for myself because I didn't want to drive. And he said, I can pick you up. When everything's humming, I'll come back and get you. And that will be beautiful, he said. And I was like, beautiful. That's nice. All right. So I can love someone and still set boundaries for myself, right? That's a both and. Extremes of thinking, like I said earlier, often lead to extremes of feelings. Okay, especially when we think in terms of demands on ourselves, like I have to, I should, I must, I need to. That tends to make us feel overwhelmed, resentful, anxious, and depressed. So what do we do with that? Well, demands are an extreme form of thinking. So we can bring choice in to balance that. We can say, I want to, I would like to, I choose to, and lighten the load a little bit. Because when we say I choose to, it gets us to really get in touch with why we're doing what we're doing. You know, what are our values that are prompting us to do something? And when we get in touch, that's core strength emotionally, knowing what those values are. What about attitudes? How about this one? Either perfectionism or complacency. If I can't do it all yesterday, I might as well not even start. And throw in a little procrastination in there too. If I can't do it all yesterday, I might as well not do it at all. Anybody familiar with that one? It can be very sneaky, and you may not be aware that's the thought that's going on. But there's a great recovery slogan I like to use to remind myself, progress, not perfection. And that helps me to kind of balance my way. What about judgments of yourself and judgments of others? Guess what they make you feel like? Less than or better than. You either feel less than or better than others. Those are extremes. So the middle way involves, I'm going to be responsible, I'm going to be accountable, while at the same time I'm going to accept my own limitations. What about that? Self-acceptance and accountability. Right? I see a nod back there. That's good. All right, I'm getting through. All right. How about extremes in relationships? We avoid confrontation to keep the peace. And then we get so pissed off we lash out, like a pressure cooker. The middle way might be adjusting your workload while still being committed to the task, respecting both your strengths and your limits. I had an exercise with that years ago. I got my master's in psychology, and this was, I went to a school that was humanistic, which was about personal growth and choice, really. I learned these things way back when. So, because I resonated with that. And so we had this exercise, we had a homework assignment, where we had to go home and make a list of our strengths and our limits. Our strengths on one column and our weaknesses on the other column. If that wasn't hard enough to do, we had to come back and read it to the class at the next class. Okay, so this was really, pushing And so I made a column on a piece of paper, and I started, and I got one strength, I got two weaknesses, I got another strength, I got three more weaknesses, right? So the weakness column was getting too long, right? And I said to myself, I am not going to class and reading this list with all those weaknesses on one side and just a couple of strengths on the other side. I'm not going to do it. So what should I do? How do I do this? And I started to look at how I could turn weaknesses into strengths, right? So like one of my weaknesses was I was very sensitive. I took everything personal. I did. I really did. Before I learned nonviolent communication. And that's all I'm going to say about NVC. But because Betty was announcing this talk, she said, I know she's going to talk about NVC. And I'm like, nope, not this time. But so I found that I could use that sensitivity to have empathy for others and be empathic. And I use that a lot in my therapy. I mean, I was listening a lot and I was understanding a lot. So we can look at our weaknesses and turn them into strengths and find that balance in our lives. And back to relationships and feeling less than or better than others. There's a recovery promise that I really like. Another one is, I see myself as an equal and my relationships are all with equal partners. That's one of my recovery goals. And I'm doing it. Look at this beautiful relationship that we have. He lets me speak. He lets me speak on a Sunday, and he's the minister. Is that not a balance? It's a balance, isn't it? All right. So now, in relationship, instead of avoiding confrontation, then lashing out, we can learn how to express our needs without blame. Just because we have unmet needs doesn't mean anybody's at fault. It just means we have unmet needs. And we can ask for help and make requests instead of demands and allow the other person the choice to say yes or no, if they can't or they can. So how do we see a bigger picture when we're stressed? Guess what? We can't. When we're stressed, we can't see a bigger picture. You know why? Your nervous system, it goes into survival mode. Fight, flight, freeze. This creates tunnel vision. And you focus on what's in front of you rather than the bigger picture. So what do? When you relax even a little bit, your nervous system shifts into a more open and reflective state. So next time you're stuck or you're feeling overwhelmed, take a pause. Create a space between what you think and what you do. Step away from the problem and do something that helps you relax your body and your mind. We have once a month a new ladies crafters group, and boy do we have fun making wreaths, Mayflower wreaths last time, and the next time we're going to make sun catchers, and they're going to be stained glass sun catchers, and that'll be the third Monday in June, right here, 1 o'clock. So relaxing, finding something that helps you relax. Could be playing music, just for yourself, not for anyone else. Or, it could be, I like doing crafts. Crafts really helps me just focus on the task. Or going out in nature, bird watching. It's beautiful. Today it's going to be 75 degrees here. This is perfect weather, isn't it? So when you relax and you step away from the problem, this often leads to an aha moment. Sometimes we call those God bumps, when you get this aha, this insight. And that happens because you have relaxed and you're not pushing. Let's see, it's time for me to stop, isn't it? Okay, I'm going to move ahead. The last thing I want to say is, remember, all things are related, and what you do to one part of the whole can affect the rest. So if you're harsh with yourself, guess what you're going to be around others? Harsh with them, right? And I just want to take one everyday example before I stop. Balancing action and rest. So I have a cot in my office now. And when I sit up and do my grading, I grade a paper, then I lie down and take a rest. I'm balancing action and rest with that. And it's also important to balance confidence with humility. Confidence without humility can lead to power struggles, and humility without confidence could lead to loss of power in our lives. I had a handout on the back table. It's a balance wheel. You're welcome to take it home with you and color it in. There are directions on the handout. I'd like to end with an affirmative, quick prayer. So let's breathe. Let's come back to the present and drop down into our heart space. Here's the affirmation. I am aware of the patterns within and around me. I balance the yin and the yang of my life. I relax and allow a bigger picture to emerge. I remember that all things are related. I act in integrity with my values, and I am grateful, and so it is. Amen. Thank you. Thank you for listening.